So here we are at the venerable Center for Photographic Art, and to be honest, I don't think that John G. Zimmerman considered himself an artist. Probably he never meant his pictures to be put on display in a white cube gallery or museum. Probably he would have said, guys, what's the fuss? I was just doing my job. And at the same time, doing his job was a flagrant understatement of what Zimmerman was actually doing. Like a maniac, he was hopping from assignment to assignment, driven by an exuberant desire to experience and to see. Zimmerman's massive oeuvre is more than an accumulation of assignments and experiments. It shows a distinctive artistic signature, an unmistakable look and take on the world. It's high time to spell out this signature and present Zimmerman as the artist he was. And when you walk through the magnificent show curated by Brian, I suggest to explore what I'd like to call the 3 gravitational axes of Zimmerman's art. And the first axis is composition, and more specifically, the tension between capturing and staging. Many of Zimmerman's pictures are tableaux vivants that seem at once very authentic and staged. Think of this very first picture he made, a portrait of his family from 1941, or washing dishes. Both seem to give exclusive access to a private, intimate scene which has in fact already been disrupted by the presence of the photographer and his equipment. Waiting Room 2 shows Zimmerman's refined sense for theatricality, but at first sight seems an incidental snapshot of a group of people waiting. Is actually a very sophisticated composition based on preparation, and yet again preparation. Or as a photographer himself put it in 1960, I quote, "In a way, that's all good pictures are. Planned pictures, good ideas, perfectly executed." End of quote. It is well known that Zimmerman was a mad scientist who was constantly manipulating and converting his equipment, constantly testing out mechanics and machinery. And this urge derives from a second gravitational axis, the tension between movement on one hand and stillness on the other hand. What drives Zimmerman is his desire to make the dynamite photograph and to go looking for the ultimate moment when things are about to happen. Look at this stupendous picture of Wilt Chamberlain in the process of dunking. Or this photograph of the arrival of the Finn Antiviscari in the Boston Marathon. It shows an inextricable tangle of divergent, contrasting movements and forces. What makes Zimmerman's pictures so intriguing is that what I call vibrancy, or perplexing perpetual dynamism. And according to me, this enticing interaction with the viewer is based on Zimmerman's crafty play with the gaze. So his images constantly capture a complex interplay of looks in every direction. So some characters look into a mirror, others are blindfolded, some look away almost in an embarrassed way, others stare at the photographer, just like here. These images appeal to us, telling us to mind our own fucking business or seeking empathy. Yeah? For example, the girl in the iron lung getting a polio treatment is not only being looked at by doctors, nurses, photographers, she also looks back, and that makes this image so interesting. Not finding consolation from a doll, a mirror, or a penguin. You see the penguin on top. It was actually a toddler who noticed this penguin during a guided tour in a small provincial town in Belgium. Suddenly a toddler said, penguin. And that's the first time I saw the penguin. It's so fantastic. The girl not finding consolation in these elements, looking back at us. Yeah? But Zimmerman is interested not only in the way his characters look, but also in what they are looking at. Zimmerman is fascinated with groups and crowds looking as if paralyzed at one and the same object. What makes Zimmerman's work so intriguing is the ambivalent double role his work played. He was, after all, a magazine photographer, he was an advertising man, he was one of the madmen of the 1960s. So in this sense, the series he made on the Beatles is very exemplary. He photographs the Beatles, but at the same time shows how they are being photographed, how they are captured and constructed by cameras. So in a way, it's a kind of critique on the advertising and popular culture he was participating in himself. In numerous pictures, for example, he demonstrates how Nixon and Eisenhower could grab audiences like no one else. But it's not only about politics in a narrow sense, but rather about the power relations that exchanging gazes entails. This Weather Girls, for example, exposes the male gaze. Yeah? All the more if you notice the male photographer lying under the table on which Weather Girls are seated. But what makes Zimmerman's work so topical is its insight that the politics of the gaze is always bound up with the politics of race. Zimmerman understood that racial relations are performed through practices of looking. A shocking case in point is the story of Matt Ingram, a black sharecropper who was charged with so-called reckless eyeballing in 1951. If a black man at that time even dared to look at a white woman, or if that woman imagined that she was being looked at, the man could be accused of sexual harassment and even rape. And it happened to Matt Ingram, who had apparently frightened his 17-year-old female neighbor by looking at her from some 20 yards away. Now, throughout his career, the African-American experience and struggle was a major concern and interest of Zimmerman. It's no coincidence that he made numerous, really umpteen series on black athletes from the most diverse sports disciplines, including Althea Gibson, Will Chamberlain, Sugar Ray Robinson, Wilma Rudolph, and Arthur Ashe. Now, our latest book, Crossing the Line, focuses precisely on this remarkable encounter between John G. Zimmerman and Arthur Ashe at the 1968 US Open. Arthur Ashe, who grew up in the segregated South, was the first black man to win a Grand Slam tennis tournament. And his victory was a truly iconic moment, not only in sports history, but in American history in general. On September 9 and 10, 1968, Zimmerman had the exclusive opportunity to follow Ashe, both on court and off court. What makes this series so incredibly special is that Zimmerman had an unrivaled access to Ashe that is unimaginable today. This experience resulted in hundreds of never-before-seen pictures which capture how Ashe both on and off court operated. And what emanates from these images, I will show a couple of them. These are action shots. This is a typical Zimmerman shot, capturing crowds watching a ball, analyzing the magnetic effect a seemingly banal ball can exercise during the trophy ceremony. And what emanates from these images is a bond of intimacy and trust. And precisely because of his discreetness, Zimmerman was able to get behind the adopted shield of a man known to be aloof, always on guard. And what Zimmerman's series displays is how Ashe acted and interacted in an almost exclusively white environment. And in the most diverse settings, off-court settings, casinos, hotel lobbies, subway stations, etc., etc. So what the book tries to do is to depict or to show actually this complex man behind the icon. And apart from Zimmerman's portraits, the publication includes numerous essays by and interviews with prominent voices from the most diverse public domains. For example, tennis legend John McEnroe, Olympic swimming champion Simone Manuel, photography critic Maurice Berger, to name but a few. Now, Crossing the Line is the result of 1 year of painstakingly hard work and intense collaboration with the Zimmerman family, the John G. Zimmerman Archive. And that's why I'd like to offer the very first material copy, in Dutch we say fresh from the presses, to the director of the archive and John's daughter Linde Zimmerman. Yeah.